Hi, good morning. We all know that our health depends on what we eat and how in these days to buy in a budget, but at the same time get healthy foods. Today we have our nutritionist from the MGH Chelsea Clinic, Jennifer, with us, and she can give us a lot of tips in how to eat more healthy and on the budget.
Thank you, Doctor. Well, one of the first most important things to do when you're planning a trip to the grocery store is to come up with a plan. And before you leave the house, the first suggestion is to always have a list when you go to the grocery store. Think about your upcoming week. Think about what meals you want to prepare, maybe what items you'd like to cook for dinner, and make sure that you have everything on your list before you get to the store. You also want to think about the food groups when you plan your list and make sure that you have foods represented from all the food groups: dairy products, meats, produce, some healthy snacks, and plenty of fruits and vegetables. Also, when you come to the store, you want to think about your budget, because it's our objective with this trip today is to not only help you choose nutritious foods, but also to shop on a budget. And one of the most important things for shopping on a budget is thinking again about how much you'd like to spend, but also looking at the flyer when you get to the store that has the weekly specials, clipping coupons, and I always recommend bringing this through the store with you. The market basket here in Chelsea is absolutely beautiful with a huge selection of food. It can also be kind of overwhelming. So one helpful tip that the store has when you walk in is they have this other little flyer here that tells you generally what items you're looking for and what aisles that they can be found in. And this can be found right when you enter the store before you grab your grocery cart, and I highly recommend touring the store with this. And also, just when you come to the grocery store, make sure you're never hungry. I think most of us know that, but what can result when you're hungry is you'll not only most of the time end up buying less nutritious foods, but you'll also often spend more money. So always have a snack, always have a little something in your stomach before you leave for the store. We also have a customer with us today, George Gosler. I'm sorry, George, welcome.
Yeah. Welcome.
What we're going to do today with Mr. Gosler is we're going to, am I pronouncing your last name right? Osler. Is we're going to tour the store and we're going to help Mr. Osler pick out some healthy products, and he's just going to ask us some questions as we go along. Okay, so let's go inside. Okay, George, so this is the dairy case at Market Basket, which is huge. In this section of the store, you'll find your margarine, butter, yogurts, cheeses, eggs. And what we're going to do is, I just want to point out, when you're looking for margarine and butter, what you want to look for. I always recommend to avoid stick butter. The only reason is because it's so high in saturated fat, which is the bad fat for your heart, for your cholesterol. Pretty much any type of fat that's in a stick form tends to be highest in saturated fat. And what happens over time is, if you're eating a lot of saturated fat, it can lead to some plaquey deposits in your arteries, increase your cholesterol. So it's a good idea to limit stick butter. Instead of butter, what you want to do is look for some type of margarine spread that has zero trans fat. So when you look at the label, you're going to find the saturated fat and the trans fat are broken down for you. You don't need to read the total fat, because that includes both the good and the bad fat. You're going to look at the saturated fat, try to keep that less than 2 if you can, and then the trans fat to 0 always. So this is an example of a spread that is trans fat free but also low in saturated fat. When you're looking for yogurt, what I recommend is first looking for what's on sale and definitely what is low in fat. There's a huge selection of yogurts here, many excellent ones to choose from. And usually the Market Basket brand, the fat-free light yogurt, is an excellent way to go. It's 40 cents for a container, and it's naturally low in fat, high in calcium, and rich in protein. And you had a question, George, about the yogurt. Would you ask me that again?
Well, most of these are highly sweetened, and they seem to have more as far as calories and and other ingredients.
That's an excellent point. The other thing that you want to do when you look at the yogurts, not only when you look at the fat, is to look at the calories. If you're watching your calories and you'd like to lose a little bit of weight, or you're just trying to, eat well like most of us are, compare the total calories. So for instance, this one has 170 for one container, and this one has 120. So this would be your better option because it's going to have less calories for you. Along with the regular yogurt, there are plenty of other types of yogurt today. There's soy yogurt, there's Greek yogurt. Soy yogurt is a naturally low in fat, excellent source of protein and calcium, which is wonderful to try if you're looking for something different. And they also have Greek yogurts today, and this is just a brand of Greek yogurt that's low in fat. It's called Chobani, and it's very high in protein. One of these yogurts has 14 grams of protein versus, let's say, for instance, this one has 5. So if you're looking for more protein, the protein helps you feel fuller longer. This is a great source of yogurt to try too. So cheese works very similar to butter. Typically, the harder a cheese, George, the more saturated fat, the more bad fat it'll have for you. So typically when you're shopping for cheese, you want to try to limit the really hard forms like Parmesan and choose a lower fat product whenever possible. So Market Basket has a variety of different low-fat cheeses available. And usually a mozzarella will be better for you because it's softer than a hard Parmesan, so it has less saturated fat. Also, they have a variety of sliced cheeses that are lower in fat. So you want to look for a 2% or 1% or even a fat-free single when you're shopping for sliced cheese. And then another wonderful alternative is this Market Basket fat-free cottage cheese. It's cheap, it's quick, it's a nice snack that's really high in protein and is a good source of calcium too. You can do cottage cheese with fruit as a snack or any type of cheese with fruit, let's say. But definitely you want to look for low-fat cheeses when in the dairy case. When shopping for milk, you definitely want to choose a low-fat milk, either 1% or skim. Limit whole milk. And also what's available now, and if you don't drink milk, is fortified juice, orange juice that's fortified with calcium and vitamin D. And what we know today is that most Americans aren't getting enough calcium, and oftentimes we're really deficient in vitamin D also, which is what we get from the sunlight. So by drinking milk and making sure it's fortified with vitamin D, it's going to help you to make sure that you're not deficient in that vitamin. Market Basket has the best selection as far as price-wise too, for getting the best deal on your milk. So as long as you go with 1% or skim, you can't go wrong. If you don't drink milk, you can try an a juice that's orange juice fortified with calcium. And also soy milk is another alternative that's naturally low in fat, low in cholesterol. And this is Lactaid milk, and oftentimes patients who have lactose intolerance or problems digesting lactose in milk, Lactaid is a wonderful alternative. Market Basket has a huge selection of fresh fish also, and fish is a wonderful way to get omega-3s and healthy fats in your diet. When you look for fish, I'd suggest that you limit fish that's salted or heavily processed and look for fresh fish or fish that's frozen in its natural form. Looking at the flyer each week is a great way to get recommendations for fish that's on sale. Typically the fattiest types of fish are the fish that's going to be healthiest for you. So tuna, king mackerel, swordfish, salmon, those are the types of fish that's best for you if you can increase those in your diet. And the recommendation for fish is twice a week, if possible. When shopping for meat, we just want to make sure we're choosing lean sources of protein. So generally you want to limit your red meat, choose more chicken, more fish like we talked about, turkey, lean sources of protein that are going to be better for your heart and better for your cholesterol. What I did here is just pulled out a few examples of different cuts of meat. This is pork, which is generally a lean source of protein. And what I'd recommend is once you buy this and you take it home, always trim off the visible fat, so that'll cut down on the amount of calories and saturated fat in it. typically for red meat, the sources that'll be the lowest in saturated fat are generally sirloin, any round cut, eye of the round, filet, which will be a very expensive cut of meat, but any bottom of the round, eye of the round. Also, we want to be careful with ground meat, because what happens with ground meat is when they manufacture it, it's very difficult for them to remove all of the saturated fat. So even when you buy lean ground beef, let's say the one that says 90% lean or 80% lean, there's still a good amount of saturated fat in there. So if possible, I would buy ground turkey or ground chicken breast if you can. But buying in bulk also helps you to save money. And then what you can do is break them down, put them in freezer bags, and freeze them in your freezer and pull them out individually as you need to use them. When shopping for cereal, what's best is to look for a cereal that's high in fiber and low in sugar. So these are some great Market Basket brands here that'll help you to save money too. I always recommend, let's say if you like Cheerios, you can try the Market Basket Tastios. It's a great alternative. If you usually get Kellogg's brand flakes, you can buy Market Basket brand flakes to save money also. But the trick when you're buying your cereal is to look at the label for fiber. And anything with 3 grams of fiber or more is considered to be a good source of fiber, and anything with 5 grams of fiber or more is considered to be an excellent source of fiber. So this, for instance, is your Tastios, and when you look at the label for fiber, you can see we have 3 grams, and it's also low in sugar with only 1 gram. Whenever a product has 7 grams, 10 grams roughly or more, it's considered to be high in sugar. So this would be one quick, nice option in the morning. Bran flakes will get you even more fiber. When you look here, there's 5 grams of fiber for 1 cup of this cereal. So this is an excellent source of fiber. And then for another great source of fiber, oatmeal, I always recommend. 1 serving of this oatmeal will get you 4 grams of fiber. It's low in sugar again, quick, easy, and a nice affordable breakfast. Pasta is a great affordable, quick meal. And there's a huge selection of pasta here at Market Basket as well. White pasta is always fine, but to get even more kind of bang for your buck nutritionally, what I always recommend is choosing a whole wheat pasta instead of the white pasta. Because when you look at the label comparatively, this pasta here will have 5 grams of fiber compared to, I believe, 2 grams of fiber in the white product. And also by getting more fiber in your diet, George, it helps make you feel fuller longer, helps to protect your heart, helps to keep your cholesterol level low. And for patients who have high blood pressure, fiber is also beneficial in keeping your blood pressure low as well. In addition to whole wheat pasta, you can also buy brown rice instead of white rice to get more fiber that way. When you're shopping for juices, George, and other sweetened drinks, it's important to be careful in this aisle because what can happen is a lot of these beverages are really high in sugar and they're really high in calories. If you do drink juice, I usually recommend trying to eat fresh fruit instead of the fruit juice because it's naturally lower in calories, it's higher in fiber, and it'll fill you up. It's more nutritious for you. But if you do drink juice, what I recommend is buying any type of light juice. So for instance, if you normally drink a regular grape juice, try to buy a light juice. And you want to look at the label. And to know if a drink is light, generally it should have less than 30 calories. 0 calories means that it's calorie-free, and that would be an even better option for you. Crystal Light is an option of a juice that I usually recommend for patients who have diabetes who want something with a little flavor because it's naturally very low in calories. There's only 5 calories for 1 cup, and it tastes great. You can buy it in the large containers like this now or powdered, and then definitely anything that you see that's, bright blue in color or bright pink, you want to be really careful with. Look at the label and make sure that it's a low-calorie option. I know. And then besides the juice, the best thing that we can have for ourselves as far as hydration is water, of course. And the recommendation for water is to try to get at least 6 glasses of water a day. You don't need to spend the money on the special spring water. Most of the waters in towns today are safe to drink, but try to stay hydrated during the day and drink as much water as you can, and generally limit drinks that have a lot of calories, especially sodas and those types of drinks. Oftentimes the patients I see at Mass General tell me they think that canned vegetables are bad for you and that they can't eat them because they're too high in salt. I always tell them canned vegetables can definitely fit into your diet. You just want to be careful with the sodium content. Canned vegetables are affordable, they stay in your cupboard for months at a time, so they are a wonderful alternative to fresh vegetables. When you look at purchasing the canned vegetables, though, what you really want to focus in on is the sodium content. And typically when a food has more than 250 milligrams of sodium, it means that it's high in salt. So for instance, this can of spinach is wonderfully nutritionally, it's just a little bit high in salt. So the next best alternative to buying the regular product would be to look for any brand that says no salt added. And Market Basket has just about every vegetable available in a no salt added variety today. So for instance, when you compare to this one, there's only 55 milligrams of salt compared to the 440 in that. So this would be a much better alternative for you. A quick, easy way to get lots of nutrition in one little can. Generally, the center aisles of the grocery store is where you'll find your snacks, things like chips and popcorn and pretzels. And oftentimes, this is an area of the grocery store where it's very easy to spend a lot of money, because typically your snack foods, your processed foods are the foods that cost the most amount of money. Generally, what I recommend is limiting high-fat snacks like regular chips. And instead of that, trying to go for maybe some pretzels or some popcorn, which will have some fiber in there also. And any type of unsalted nut is an excellent source of protein, really high in fiber, and something that you can add to all your meals. In the morning, you could add it to cereal, you can mix it in with yogurt, and it's a great healthy snack. Frozen dinners can fit into a healthy diet also, George. One thing that's really important, though, when you're looking at frozen dinners is to compare the sodium content, because that's usually the biggest drawback with any frozen meal. Oftentimes they're really high in salt, sometimes they're very high in calories, and can be high in saturated fat as well. So this is an example of a frozen entree that is very high in salt. When you look at the label, you can see that it is 1,840 milligrams of salt. So for anyone who's watching their blood pressure, limiting their salt content, you definitely would not want to choose a product like this very often. Instead of that, there's Smart Ones, there's Lean Cuisine, Healthy Choice. Those are the 3 general brands available in Market Basket that are lower in sodium. So for instance, one of these meals has 570 milligrams of sodium, almost a third of what that meal there would have. So this would be a much better alternative for you to have. And these can definitely fit because they're quick and they're easy, and they're usually a well-balanced meal in one frozen package. And one thing that I would recommend too, to feel more satisfied, would be maybe to add some additional fresh vegetables to it, or some frozen vegetables, so that you feel like you're getting more food, but you won't consume that many calories. When shopping for fruits and vegetables, fresh is always best, but generally frozen is a wonderful alternative to fresh vegetables. And what you want to look for when you're shopping for fruits and vegetables is a variety of color. Anything bright green, bright orange, red will generally mean more nutritional value for you. Frozen vegetables, also when the fresh vegetable that you're looking for, and fresh fruit as well, isn't in season, your frozen variety is going to be a much more affordable option. So here we have just a selection of different fruits that are frozen blueberries, frozen strawberries, and then frozen vegetables, broccoli. And again, you're going to look for brightly colored, and Market Basket has an extensive variety of frozen fruits and vegetables available. When shopping for bread, it's best to limit the white bread and make sure that you're choosing some type of whole wheat bread. And there's a great variety of whole grain bread today. So typically your white breads are going to be your basic white. Italian bread is considered a white bread. Potato bread is also considered a white bread. And the reason to limit them, they're not bad for you, but basically they don't have any fiber. So what happens is you can often eat these breads and feel hungry an hour or two later. So our goal is to get as much fiber as possible into your diet. So by choosing a whole wheat bread, a whole grain bread, is an easy way to get more fiber in your diet. So for instance, this is the Market Basket Fiber Plus brand. One slice of this bread has 6 grams of fiber. That's excellent when you look at the label. The other thing when you're shopping for whole grains, oftentimes people wonder, well, what is a whole grain? When you look at the label, the whole grain should be listed as either the first or second ingredient. So for instance, with this bread, 100% whole wheat flour is your whole grain, and that's what is listed as your first ingredient. So you know that this is a very healthy product. Also, I just wanted to point out what the fiber recommendations are for you. For men who are 50 years or older, you want to try to get at least 30 grams of fiber a day into your diet. So you know one slice of this will give you 6, and if you have 2 slices, that's 12 grams of fiber. And women want to strive for at least 25 grams of fiber a day in their diet. So your whole grains, nuts, fresh produce, fruits, vegetables, seeds, those are the best ways for us to get more fiber into our diet. Oftentimes people think that they can't eat ice cream, especially I find that diabetic patients that I see at Mass General will often say to me, well, I can't have ice cream now that I have diabetes. And I always tell them ice cream can definitely fit into a healthy diet as well. What I recommend when you shop for ice cream is to really avoid buying the full fat product, because the full fat product, when you look at the label, will generally be high in saturated fat and calories. So for instance, one serving of this, which is a half a cup, has 5 grams of saturated fat, which we know is the bad fat that we want to limit. Instead of buying the full fat product, you're just going to look for anything light or fat-free. This is an example of a Market Basket light ice cream that instead of 5 grams of saturated fat, has only 2. So this would be a much healthier alternative for you. And the key with ice cream is just portion control. A portion is generally a half a cup. And we know that oftentimes it's much easier to eat more than a half a cup. So if you can buy any of the ice creams that are already individually portioned out for you, any of the little ice cream cups would be a good way to fit it in. But really just watching your portion and making sure you're even using a little mug at home to try and control the portion size. Market Basket has an amazing selection of fresh fruit and vegetables available. Just looking in this section at the color is really quite extraordinary. And the goal, again, when you're shopping for fruits and vegetables is to look for color. And the rule of thumb is the more color, the more nutrition. Deep greens, reds, oranges, they typically will have more vitamins in there. And we know that fresh is best. And what I usually recommend to my patients when they're shopping is to really look for fruits and vegetables that are in season. So now we know it's fall, so now you can get great prices on apples, oranges this time of year. And really just looking in your flyer again each week to see what is on sale, but trying to load your cart up each week with a variety of fruits and vegetables is the key. And really the goal is 5 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables each day. If you can get 5, great. If you can get 9 servings of fruits and vegetables, that's excellent.
Just what is a serving size?
That's a great question, because I find that a lot of times people are overwhelmed when I say that you need to eat 5 to 9. That's the recommendation a day. But a serving size is really very small, and it should be actually very easy to get 5 to 9 a day if you realize just how small a serving is. A serving would be one small piece of fruit, like one orange, one apple, one pear, or it would be a cup of melon, or it would be a half a cup of cooked vegetables, or 1 cup of leafy vegetables. So 1 cup of salad greens, for instance. And generally, just by looking at the size of your hand, that's usually about a half a cup. So if you were going to have a half a cup of cooked carrots, if you ate that little amount right there, that's 1 serving alone. Oftentimes in Chelsea, it is difficult to eat well when you want something, let's say, quick for lunch. There's a variety of fast food places, but there aren't really a lot of healthier restaurants. And the nice thing about this new Market Basket here is that they have a meal of the day, and they have a huge selection of foods that are already prepared for you, many of which are extremely healthy. For instance, if you wanted a salad at lunch, you could come here and get this nice salad that's already done up for you. And there's a good half dozen or so of these different types of salads. They also have fresh fruit. You can come and order a sandwich or a hot meal from the entree bar up here. And they also have a huge selection of sushi. And this actually would help you to save money. Instead of going to a fast food place like your typical fast food restaurants and ordering a fast food meal, you could come here for something that's already done up for you and would be much healthier for you. Well, we'd just like to take a moment to thank Market Basket and Mr. Joe Schmidt for allowing us into the store today. This is a wonderful store, and it's a great place to teach shoppers and our patients at Mass General how to not only eat well, but eat well on a budget. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and we appreciate you being here today and encourage you to take advantage of more for your dollar shopping with us at Market Basket.